Yes, this is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Who's got a hammer?
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here. Welcome to the show. It's Thursday, almost the end of the week. We actually have a really good, breaking news story. It appears that all of us vaccinated people can now go, in most cases, without masks or social distancing. Nailed it. Awesome. Wonderful news. That's the new CDC recommendations that are saying that in most circumstances, yes, if you are fully vaccinated, you can go and basically go back to living life without killing grandma, by the way. Yes. Now, of course, there's people that are immunocompromised and stuff like that. They also have to be careful. They've got to consult their doctor. But hey, wonderful news. It's a good day. It's a real good day. Real good day. Joel Greenberg accepts plea deal. Matt Gaetz is going to jail. Oh, interesting. That plea deal. Ooh. Oh, good stuff. But hey, speaking of good stuff, we got a good show for you all today. We have Donald Trump's blogging. Yes, more news from the blogosphere from 2005. We might also visit MySpace. Then we've got the MyPillow guy, of course, who seems to be stuck in January 6th as well. We've got Biden's America filled with dry poultry. It's a nightmare. Total nightmare. We've got Newsmax hosts going full mask off, anti-Semitic. And then Senator Inhofe wants to talk to your daddy. If you misbehave. Fun. Very fun. I do apologize for being a little bit late. I was doing some sound testing, sound checks. Because there was some issues there. Okay. And so there's that. I'm not getting a vaccine unless I stay in a facility that provide immediate medical assistance. Good news. At all the places, I had the Pfizer. Okay. So I had the 2 Pfizer shots. At every vaccination place, there are EMTs standing by. And so there are always EMTs on deck for anybody that has an adverse reaction to the vaccine. And so there's an EMT, there's always an ambulance waiting outside, professionals that are willing and ready to help you if you actually happen to have an adverse reaction to the vaccine. So with that in mind, hopefully that offers you enough comfort to go and get a vaccine. I would highly, 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 highly recommend it. Please do so for your safety. All right. Anyway, with that said, let's dive into the show. Let's start out with rage blogging, the new thing, as opposed to rage tweeting. Not quite as fun, but also fun. All right. Former President Donald Trump continues to scream into the ether, this time, of course, turning to his blog once again to attack former Homeland Security Chief Staff Miles Taylor. Now, Miles Taylor, in case you've forgotten who this guy is, he is now known for being the anonymous op-ed writer who posted that pretty useless piece against Donald Trump in the New York Times. And I say useless because basically what it was like is, oh, Donald Trump's crazy, but that's okay. We got the adults in the room, so everything is going to be fine. We don't need to use the 25th Amendment, which they absolutely should have used the 25th Amendment to get rid of him. He was, again, one of the staffers that could have tried to get people to invoke the 25th. Again, I don't know if he tried, I don't know if he didn't, but we know that they did not do the 25th Amendment. And as a result, of course, President Trump stayed in office and ginned up the base with baseless conspiracies of voter fraud, leading to the, of course, violent January 6th Capitol insurrection. And so, good job, Miles. Thanks for nothing. Appreciate it. Now, as a result of the Trumpification of the Republican Party, Miles is now, again, he's a conservative, he's a Republican. He is now threatening to form a moderate conservative party, which to me, as a leftist, look, I kind of laugh about that because, it's basically, there's no such thing as a moderate conservative at this point. No moderate Republican, okay? This is basically going to be Republicans with the mask on. So you're still going to have the same policies, tax cuts for the rich, deregulation, pointless, endless wars, police brutality against black people, all the stuff that basically led to Donald Trump in the first place. Economic stagnation, things like that. And so, not helpful at all, really. But that said, Trump is not a fan of this guy, as evidenced by this rage post. Some people refer to him as absolutely nothing. I hear he's on CNN and MSDNC all the time, but he had nothing to do with any of my decisions, and I wouldn't even know what he looks like. He's the guy who fraudulently wrote a make-believe book and statement to the failing New York Times, calling himself anonymous. That's right, he, a lowlife that I didn't know was anonymous. Hey. This you? Looks like you. I didn't know him. Coffee boy. Ran errands. Barely knew him. Wasn't even in the office. Sad. Very sad. Man, that's wonderful. God damn. I love it when this happens. Oh. But again, Trump's not done. He says, quote, now he's putting together a group of rhinos and losers who are coming out to protest President Trump. Dude, you're not president anymore. You're done. You're done. Oh my God. He hasn't been president for how long? Yeah, since January 20th. Jesus. Understand this is why we're still talking about him, okay? He's not going away. If he was going to go away, he would have done so by now. Okay? The guy still thinks he's president. He's insane. He thinks he won and got cheated. And as a result of the cult of personality that he built within the Republican Party, over 60% of Republicans still believe that Biden is an illegitimate president, that Trump should be the actual president. Over half the party does not believe in any sort of objective reality. And there's more. Quote, he is a phony who will probably be sued over his fake book and fake anonymous editorial which has caused so much treasonous stir. Treasonous stir. Okay. Look, earlier in the segment, I mocked this guy for being basically a do-nothing, okay? And effectively doing nothing to help the situation with Trump. And this guy's like, treasonous stir. Dude, you're the guy that whipped people up on January 6th to invade the Capitol building. Beat up police officers and smear feces all over the place and threatened congressmen. Threatening Mike Pence. I mean, seriously, people were they were in the Capitol saying, hang Mike Pence.
Mike Pounds.
Come on. Okay. So much projection. Finally, there's more. Miles Taylor and his fellow rhino losers like Tom Ridge, Christine Todd Whitman, and crazy Barbara Comstock voted for Biden. And now look what they have. A socialist regime with collapsing borders, massive tax and regulation hikes, unrest in the Middle East, and long gas lines. As opposed to what? A pandemic that killed 500,000 Americans? What is this? Socialist. How is a socialist regime? We're still a massively capitalist country. Come on. Oh boy. Oh, here we go. Now, as far as like, I'm sorry. There's one more part of this. He's even giving us men setting new records playing women's sports. What a disaster for our country it has been. So, nice casual, anti-trans sentiment right there. Right at the end. Ridiculous. Now, as far as, it's transphobic. As far as tax hikes, what tax hikes have we seen? Show me a bill where taxes have been raised. Show me. Oh, right. You don't have one because nothing went through Congress. There hasn't been anything. And in fact, thanks to Republicans, next to nothing can go through Congress without budget reconciliation, which involves, of course, having to placate conservative Democrats who are more pro-Trump than anything, like Joe Manchin, into doing something. So, come on. And in fact, the borders, all right? He talks about the borders. Saying the borders are collapsing is ridiculous. Come on. That's insane. In fact, deportations are actually up. And I don't believe that that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing at all. According to advocacy group United We Dream, the number of estimated deportations has actually hit over 300,000 since Biden got into office. That's based on news reports, shared information among trusted immigrant rights organizations, and an average, and this is what's really important, this is what's really beefing up the numbers here, Title 42 expulsions. Now, what is Title 42? Title 42 actually refers to a section of federal law that grants the CDC the authority to deny entry to immigrants. And so what the Trump administration had been doing is using Title 42 to basically keep all immigrants out. Oh, COVID, what are you going to do? Got to keep out the immigrants. And then what Biden did is he basically left that unchanged and continued allowing for immigrants to be denied entry on the basis of COVID-19. And so what it does is that it basically prevents, it bars entry from anyone coming from a country that has an outbreak of an infectious disease. And in this case, of course, it's COVID-19. Now, expulsions under Title 42 are not based on immigration status and are tracked separately from immigration enforcement actions. Now, advocacy groups, of course, are pushing back and saying that COVID-19 is being used as an excuse by the Biden administration to basically prevent immigrants from poorer countries who are being hit incredibly hard by the pandemic because they are poorer nations, because here in the United States, we've hoarded vaccines from these poorer nations. We have made sure that, only the rich countries get priority when it comes to COVID-19. Hey, your people are dying. We don't really care because America. And so they don't have the resources to battle it out. And when people want to leave and come to a country that, actually does have the vaccines and the treatments, well, they can't. And so there it is. Now, as far as unrest in the Middle East, that's not necessarily Biden's fault either, what's going on in the Middle East. Although, I got to point out, the Biden administration is backing Israel as they bomb innocent people in the Middle East. I mean, fun fact here, right? I didn't know this until recently. But, okay, I'm pretty sure we all agree that Hamas is pretty terrible, okay? They do horrific things. They kill innocent people. They're pretty brutal about it, okay? You know who funded Hamas originally? And this is a fun fact. Israel. The government of Israel funded Hamas, basically created Hamas. Why? They wanted to stop a socialist movement that was happening in Palestine. Yeah. So it isn't it funny how nations like the United States and Israel apparently have funded and created their own enemies that they can then later on use to justify occupations of foreign lands and to do war crimes. Yeah, amazing, right? Funny how that works. And of course, they get to crush the socialist movement, as a bonus. Wonderful. But yeah. Now, as for the gas lines, well, ransomware where hackers had apparently went after the aptly named Colonial Pipeline, stole data on billing, which is interesting. And of course, hey, whoa, we got to shut the pipeline down to make sure that we know who to bill, who to charge for gas, so we're going to shut that down and not pay these ransomware hackers $5 million because that's what they are asking for. And so they stole the data, tried to sell it back to the company for $5 million in Bitcoin. Again, these are random hackers. Apparently, they were based in Russia, but not backed by the Russian government. So it's just basically random hackers that wanted money, and that's what they do. Ransomware. That's what it is. And so as a result, pipeline shut down. People flipped out because there's not as much gas. They went out and panic bought gas. Some people were like putting it in plastic bags. I mean, America, right? America. And it's very, very smooth brained. Because, hey, dumbass, how did you plan to get it back out of the bag after you put it in the bag? Come on. Like, how do you, okay. But again, the whole thing is the panic of a shortage caused a shortage. So, look, if people had been smart about this, had rationed the gas out responsibly to the people that needed it, and not hoarded it like TP, then people would have enough gas. And so, but the overall point here, none of that's really Biden's fault. But Donald Trump's going to blame Biden for everything. The Republicans are going to blame Biden for everything. That's what's going to happen. And he's going to, with him deplatformed, he's going to scream into the void. And people are, unfortunately, still going to listen to him. Not as many as before, because, again, deplatforming, to an extent, does work quite a bit. But, again, this is his mode of communication now, and that's what's going to happen. Okay. So there you go. Moving on. I agree there's way too many oil spills. True. Let's see. All right, next one. Another day, another unhinged take from the MyPillow guy. That's CEO Mike Lindell. He now believes that the United States Supreme Court will unanimously overturn the 2020 presidential election because, of course, right? Take a look.
Well, he talks about.
You got to realize, Steve, all of these, when they turned down Texas on standing, when they didn't look at it, which they should have looked at it, it's, they have to look at it, but they didn't. Well, what that did, actually, I believe that's going to end up being a good thing, because even if you were a Democrat over here, you're going, wow, look at that. It was 7-2. Those conservative judges, they're fair judges because they think they won over here. There's people that actually still think Biden won. So when we get there and they do take this down and look at it, when that vote comes out 9-0, they're gonna have more trust that, wow, it's 9-0. Even the liberal judges in this, and we will get that case
before we get to before we get to the 9-0.
Cut him off. That's what it made me think of. Wow. Hey, if that's part of your plan, then why would you broadcast that on TV or wherever you're broadcasting that from? Here's my plan. See, the liberals are going to think this, and then it's going to actually happen. Well, you just broadcast it to everybody. It's insane. So there's lots to unpack here. Okay. Now, firstly, referencing the court cases that happened in Pennsylvania, the court actually refused to hear that case because it would have been unconstitutional. They don't have the power to do that. Basically, what the argument from Trump supporters is saying, and they've argued this in court over 60 times, and they've lost every time, is that the state's voting rules can only be set by state legislatures under the U.S. Constitution. That's what the court said. Okay, and so what they were trying to do is trying to have any of the ballots, the mail-in ballots, thrown out, or all of them, because the state changed their rules because of COVID-19. Now, of course, they don't believe in COVID-19. They believed it was a hoax. And so, of course, it wouldn't matter to them, But what the state did is, again, change their voting rules because there were more mail-in ballots. And so they allowed them to be counted. That's it. And the court basically agreed that, hey, look, under the rules, even if we don't like it, states' rights, essentially. And so now you might be wondering, wait a minute, weren't they talking about voter fraud? No, it turns out that there was actually no court cases being argued on voter fraud. Why? Because they couldn't present any evidence of voter fraud to challenge it in court. So, and why I point that out is because they want to make this about voter fraud. And yet they couldn't because they didn't have evidence to present in court, which means those 60 plus lawsuits were not about voter fraud at all. And yet you have a majority of Republicans believing that there was widespread, massive voter fraud. In fact, according to a Monmouth University poll conducted of February 25th to March 1st, found that 65% of Republicans believed that Biden's win was solely as a result of voter fraud. Now, these same Republicans, by the way, are supporting, or had supported those court cases and those efforts to try to overturn the election results in places like Pennsylvania that were not at all related to voter fraud. So most Republicans, it feels like most of them don't even know the real reason Trump got blown out in court. And again, it wasn't about voter fraud. And they really do believe that that was the sole purpose, in fact, or the sole reason. In fact, 29% Republicans say that they will never accept Biden as president as a result. Now, there's another survey, CNN SSRS, that was released on April 30th, found that 70% of Republicans believe the false allegation that Biden did not legitimately defeat former President Trump. Just 23% said Biden legitimately won. Compare that, of course, with everybody else. Democrats, 97-3, believe that, Biden won the election legitimately. Independents, a little bit more, I should say, 69-27, nice. They said Biden had won the election fairly. And so you take Democrats and you take independents, you have a massive majority of people that have seen the evidence and they said, Biden won the election fair and square. Whereas you have the majority of the Republican Party that have just gone insane. So it's funny when you hear Mike Lindell saying things like, oh, there's people that actually still think that Biden won. Yeah, that's most people. And I'm not trying to make argumentum ad populum. It's just the fact that, again, there's just absolutely been no evidence of voter fraud. They have looked it over. They have done recounts. They have done audits. They have done studies. William Barr in the Justice Department desperately had a reason to find voter fraud so he could stay into power. And they couldn't. They just couldn't find it. They couldn't find any credible cases of widespread voter fraud. And so these people who's left that believe in the Mike Lindells of the world, they're a minority of screaming lunatics. That's what it is. Now, either there's two different conclusions you can come to that. Either the people who are supposed to look for it, who would be politically motivated to actually find voter fraud, were so deeply incompetent that they couldn't find millions and millions and millions upon millions of missing votes and fraudulent votes, or what's more likely, it didn't happen. But don't worry, Pillow Man's on it. The pillow guy, he'll find the fraud. Jeez. You know what? I cannot wait. I can't wait until the day that either Dominion just wrecks this guy's shit in the lawsuit, takes everything that this guy owns. Okay? Oh, and publicly nationalizes it. Oh, God. Yeah, it would never happen. I know. It would never happen. Or better yet, actually, that he is forced to go on air and do an apology and debunk his own insane conspiracy theory in front of the entire world. Oh, yeah, that would be delicious. Delicious. I drink it up. Drink his milkshake. All right. God, I'd buy a Dominion pillow. Hey, Dominion, you ready to take over a pillow empire? It's ready for you. Oh, okay. Fun times. Moving on. Jesus. Just gonna go right through the stories. Okay. All right. Conservatives are blasting President Joe Biden as a result of a very serious issue: the lack of Chick-fil-A sauce. On Wednesday, Republican Senator Ted Cruz tweeted a link to a very important Breitbart article. Now, this article covered the lack of availability for Chick-fil-A sauce. Joe Biden is destroying America because of a limit on sauce. Now, look, the article from Breitbart's pretty straightforward, okay? And they write, to meet customer demand, Chick-fil-A is limiting customers to one dipping sauce per item ordered at many of its 2,600 locations across the U.S. We are actively working, according to the company in the statement, to make adjustments to solve this issue quickly and apologize to our guests for any inconvenience. And although their sauce supply is limited, there's still plenty of chicken to go around at Chick-fil-A. The company has not been affected by the chicken shortage that other companies have been experiencing. Chicken. Well, let's be honest. It's probably because you've got meatpacking plants. And of course, the reason for some of these shortages in chicken is because you've had massive COVID outbreaks at many of these meatpacking plants, which do employ a lot of immigrants and also have not protected their workers from COVID-19. I mean, lack of social distancing, things like that. And so you have major issues with that supply chain getting people infected. Even now, at a time where COVID-19, the cases in a lot of places in the country are going down daily. And so that is interesting. A lot of these places, by the way, have tried to force people back to work, have been successfully able to get people back to work, even though they have been the ground zero for many very deadly COVID-19 outbreaks as well. But of course, the real problem, according to conservatives, is the lack of sauce. Ted Cruz, he's gonna have to eat his chicken dry. Oh no, the horror. We got dry ass poultry. We got DAP going on here.
Wet ass P word.
No, dry ass C word. I'm sorry. Yeah, or even dry ass P word, I guess. What a foul bunch of puns. But it gets funnier because then Breitbart did it. Then Fox News jumped in. And they pick up the story. And it's titled, quote, Chick-fil-A sauce shortage blamed on Joe Biden's America. And guess what? They quote a lot of conservative thinkers. Eric Schmidt, for example, just tweets, Joe Biden's America. Lauren Boebert, is there no limit to how awful Biden's America can get? These are real tweets, folks. Real tweets. Okay. Clay Travis says, I don't want anybody to panic, but Chick-fil-A has started to ration its sauce. This is now the world is ending. That's got to be tongue-in-cheek there. That's fun. Josh Mandel, very serious. In Joe Biden's America, Chick-fil-A has to limit sauces because of supply chain issues. Gas stations are having mass shortages and prices are soaring. The price of groceries are skyrocketing. Everyday Americans are hurting and they miss Donald Trump's America. Very, very serious tweets. Very serious. From very serious people. What's funny is that people do not miss Donald Trump's America. In fact, a lot of people are actually pretty happy with what Biden is doing. Again, I'm a leftist, so I'm not happy. I think we should be doing Medicare for all. I think we should be doing a Green New Deal. But he's been better than me, a lot of us have expected, even though we had some pretty low expectations. And so the bar is low, but he meets it fairly easily. And so, according to polling, nearly 2/3 of Americans, 64%, are actually optimistic about the country, about the direction the country is going. Now, this was conducted by Ipsos in partnership with ABC News, and the last time the country has come close to this level of optimism about the coming year was back in December of 2006, when 61% of Americans said they were optimistic about where the country was headed. So, you have a lot of Americans that are like, hey, we got rid of, the clown. And yes, we can look better. We can look forward to better things. So great. But yes, go off King. Speaking of King, we have good old man in the truck, Graham Allen, saying this: only Joe Biden can mess this up. Could mess up Chick-fil-A. Matt Schlapp says Joe Biden also canceled the Chick-fil-A sauce pipeline. What is he even talking about? Another person, Brigitte Gabriel, says, soon America will be out of gas and Chick-fil-A sauce. Way to go, Joe Biden. Laverne Spicer says, Chick-fil-A is out of sauce. Joe Biden's officially messing with our chicken. It's a problem. Don't mess with their chicken. This is unhinged. I mean, come on. This is thanks Obama level of just BS insanity. And by the way, this is by the way when the country is actually facing some pretty serious issues. I mean, we've got hearings going on about the January 6th Capitol riots. Republicans are saying, oh, no, what violence? It wasn't an insurrection. No. If you're saying that it's an insurrection, then you're completely, absolutely wrong. Then you're just making things up. It was totally 100% peaceful. And at the same time, by the way, there's footage coming out from this body cam footage from a Capitol police officer that was being beaten and was begging for his life. So, yeah, totally peaceful. Totally peaceful. You also have massive violence going on against Palestinians in Gaza. You have the former president that's still blogging about the big lie. But your problem as Republicans now in Joe Biden's America is not having enough sauce for your chicken. Yes. Talk about first world problems. Just like, it's just amazing, the pure nonsense of it all. Thank you, Fox News, and Breitbart, right-wing media, for talking about the real issues in this country that we're facing. Ah, yes, Dr. Seuss. Yes, what happened to that? I guess you're right about this communist takeover. I regret wanting this leftist utopia because the dry-ass chicken, dry-ass poultry.
Wet-ass P-word.
No wet-ass P-word for you. Can you imagine wet poultry? Okay. All right. Anyway, Jesus. So now we have, we go from fun to disastrous. Okay. And so for that, we go to Newsmax. It's news to the max, maybe. So, dry ass roosters. Y'all. I love you all. Yeah, you're great. Okay. Serious stuff. Newsmax host Grant Stinchfield went full anti-Semitic during a segment discussing the Israeli attacks on Gaza. Take a look.
Well, he talks about moral courage. It is something, sadly, the Democrats do not have. And I would ask you, if you are Jewish and you are a Democrat and you are living in America today, how do you support an administration that turns its back on your home country? I do not understand it. Israel is our one true ally in the Middle East. Without it, we would be devastating.
Wait, okay, home country. What are you talking about? If they're American Jews, then they're just Americans. Their home is America. That is their home country, America. I mean, come on. Okay, so what this is full mask off. And here's the problem, okay? So the problem with this is that this is one anti-Semitic trope. One of them used by Nazis is that Jewish people have a dual loyalty to, when they're not in Israel, they have a dual loyalty to Israel and the country that they live in, and that they will put their loyalty to Israel above everything else. So again, that is a very, very old, long-standing anti-Semitic trope that has been used to discriminate against Jewish people, to, for one, justify removing them from political positions of power, and also to, justify removing them from countries altogether. Well, you're not really you're not really a citizen of our country. You're a citizen of Israel. So we're going to use that justification to literally remove you from your home. And so that is something that has happened through our history. Okay. And so that's pretty fucked. And again, this is what the evangelical right, the far right, thinks about Jewish people. If you look into the history of how this has been used against these populations in different countries, I mean, it really is incredibly horrifying. So now you might wonder too, but wait, if the far right doesn't like Jewish people, like you're saying, well, then why do they support Israel? Why do they support the strikes into Gaza? Well, for one, they hate Muslims. Like the far right hates Muslims. And that includes the far right, by the way, in Israel. And I think it's been pretty well documented how much they despise people who are Muslim. The far right. I mean, but again, there's more to it, okay? For one, they also support Israel because it's essentially an ethno-religious state at this point. It's an apartheid state that, practices apartheid against people who are not Jewish. And so what they've done is that they've used their police state to crack down and build illegal settlements in their areas. Again, in Palestinian areas, again, you've had the United Nations basically saying these are illegal settlements. What's going on? Now, how this applies to the far right is that you've seen a lot of members of the far right that would love to turn America into a similar type of ethno-religious state under, fundamentalist Christianity. And so they have that thing in common, okay? But the other reason why you have these evangelicals, why you have many in the far right that support Israel, it's not because they actually care about the Israeli people or their safety. It actually, in reality, they want all the Jewish people to go back to Israel so that God can kick off the end times, the apocalypse, where Jesus can then, after that happens, hoover up a certain amount of people off into heaven with this giant, vacuum cleaner, okay? That's what it is. And so that's kind of what this is all about on the far right. And that's why you can also have a movement that is deeply, deeply anti-Semitic, but also be in favor of the right-wing government of Israel and what they're doing to the Palestinians. And so that said, he says what he basically said there is you can't be Jewish and American at the same time. Now, that's obviously 100% wrong. But he says, no. Israel's your home country. And why would you, living in America as an American Jew, why would you be against or for an administration that is against your home country? Well, again, as a lot of people are going to tell you, and I'm not Jewish, I can't speak for Jewish people, which is why I'm going to quote some Jewish people on social media who disagree with that assessment from Mr. Stinchfield. In fact, here's one. Josh Marshall, writing for Talking Points Memo, says, Jew here, care deeply about Israel. My wife was born there. Israel isn't my home country. 100% American. America. Hell yeah. All right. Alex Basson says, I'm Jewish, was born and raised in Wisconsin. I've lived in Illinois and Missouri, and I'm living today in New York. Never been to Israel. Israel isn't my home country. Another person, my home country is the United States. I was born here. My parents were born here. 3 of my 4 grandparents were born here. The administration that turned its back on my home country left office January 2021. True. Joyous Panther says, I'm Jewish. Never stepped foot in Israel. Not my home country. Another person, my home country is America. Just because I'm Jewish does not make my home country Israel. I have never been there, have no relatives there. My family came from Poland and Russia. So nope, not all Jews are Israeli. So now there's also some interesting polling coming out from American Jews. Many of them, of course, are quite progressive and are not impressed with right-wing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In fact, according to polling from the Jewish Telegraph Agency, most American Jews rated Netanyahu's leadership only fair or poor, while less than half of them said that he was excellent or good. Netanyahu was rated highest by Jewish Republicans and Orthodox respondents, so people who are more religious fundamentalist, and was given the worst ratings from respondents under 30, unaffiliated Jews, and Democrats. Only 25% of Democrats said he was excellent or good. Nearly 2/3 of American Jews are actually optimistic, though, that Israel can find a way to coexist peacefully with a Palestinian state, so two-state solution. Israelis, by contrast, consistently are pessimistic that a two-state solution will happen. Only 1/3 of American Jews, however, believe that Israel is sincere about making peace with the Palestinians, and the number drops to 24% among Jews under 30, and to 20% among Jewish Democrats. However, according to polling, every segment of the Jewish population does believe Israel is more sincere about peace than the Palestinians. I would say that the right-wing government of Israel, so Netanyahu, the ultra right wing, well, they like the conflict because they can use that to stay into power. Again, Netanyahu could not form a coalition government, and that's when this began. So his failure to create a coalition government, I think, and this is my personal opinion, since he does want to stay into power and be able to form his another government and stay in the position of prime minister, might end did a little engineering of a crisis, and so that's it. Again, my personal opinion on that. I don't have anything to back that up, but again, when it comes to right wingers, they love to use fear, they love to use war, and of course, you've got the fear of terrorism over there. You do have Hamas, which will take advantage of any situation to cause chaos because they are a terrible group. They are a terrorist group, and so. Yeah, take advantage of that situation, try to remain in power, especially to cover up for corruption charges and, and to, of course, stay into power. So that's what we have going on. Again, in my opinion, I do think that, yeah, most people do want a peaceful solution to this. I want a peaceful solution to this. I want a solution where you have the Palestinian people no longer living in open air prisons that have human rights. They have the rights to trade, they have the rights of commerce and to kind of, decide their own political representation and destiny. But that's just me. Now, let's see. More finding from Pew Research. Now, they also note that American Jews are becoming more diverse, as well as being more polarized between Orthodox and non, more educated and affluent, and are more worried than any time recently about the rise of anti-Semitism in the United States. And with segments like this from Newsmax, well, and the rise of neo-Nazi movements under the Trump administration, Proud Boys, I don't really blame them. It's actually super gross to bring up these old anti-Semitic tropes towards our fellow Americans who are absolutely American, and so you need to stop with that. Just stop. All they want to do is demonize Muslims. Yeah, it's a big one. And take the royal. Yup. That's definitely a big one, too. Another point is that even the Newsmax guy had a point there. There's no other major party for them to go to. But there's a lot of incredibly, progressive Jewish people. I mean, yeah. They're a huge part of the left. Exactly, Gabby. Exactly. All right. One more story here. But before I do, Dr. Tiffany Scoots with a super chat here, very kind, says, if I'm an Irish American, my home country would be Ireland? I guess according to this guy's logic. Get it, Hoosier Noogie says, I'm half Mexican, half Polish American with a German last name. I need to go home too. I pick Belize. It's not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. All right. Let's move on here. Last story. A little bit of casual sexism in the workplace. Fun. But not really. All right. Senator James Inhofe got a little creepy during an EPA confirmation hearing. So now this was to a Environmental Protection Agency nominee, Radhika Fox. And he basically told her if she didn't behave, he was going to talk to her daddy. Okay. So now, according to a CNN report, Inhofe made the remarks while Fox was answering a question regarding changes the Trump administration had made to the Obama-era waters of the United States rule. And I'm going to show you video of that. Take a look.
Now we have, the vast majority of waters in some of the states that are now not jurisdictional. And so it's raising a different kind of implementation challenge as far as water quality protection. And I think
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know that I've got to get around to all three of them.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate your comments, and particularly in your opening statement. I enjoyed that. And so I will look forward to working with you. And if you don't behave, I'm going to talk to your daddy. Okay? All right. That's good. Now,
Okay. Well, that's classy. I mean, yeah, she laughed, but that's not really the point. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of women laugh at stuff like that because they're not quite sure how to respond. And then later on are like, that's kind of fucked up. Because it is. It is. And so it is a really odd thing to tell someone, by the way, in a professional setting. Because it is. I mean, you're literally in Congress. You're literally interrupting her during her answer. I got to get to other people. But by the way, behave. I'm going to talk to your daddy if you don't. Real weird. And here's the thing, right? It's almost as if he doesn't take her seriously as a professional. Well, I mean, not only just the position, of course, because Jim Inhofe hates the EPA. This shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Again, remember, he's the guy who brought in the snowball to the Senate chambers in order to disprove climate change. He's not only that, but supported all of Donald Trump's deregulation when it came to the environment, scrapping of some of these clean water rules. And so he's got no respect for that position. Add to that, he's probably got no respect for the woman that's going to be in that position. And so, again, who says that kind of thing? Honestly, maybe I'm just young. Maybe I'm too young for this. Okay. But like, is this something that old people do? Just make these weird jokes. They're like, I'm gonna tell your daddy on you. Not creepy at all. Nope. Not creepy at all. Nah, you better behave or I'll tell your daddy. Maybe he'll spank you. Maybe I can watch, Yeah, no, totally joking. Totally joking. You never know with these creepy old dudes. That said, here's what, and they knew that this was going to be a problem. They knew. Because later on, Inhofe Communication Director Lisi Burke said on CNN that the comments were in reference to Fox discussing your father during opening remarks. Senator Inhofe is always moved by the family stories of nominees and was especially touched by Mrs. Fox's tribute to her father during the opening remarks. He made a lighthearted joke at the end of this questioning to recognize her father again, since he was present for the hearing. As he said in the hearing, Inhofe looks forward to working with Ms. Fox when she's confirmed. CNN notes that Fox was a former CEO of the U.S. Water Alliance. That is, of course, a nonprofit. I'll give you more information on that, but she did thank her parents during her opening remarks, turning to a father who was seated behind her. Wonderful. And she said, everything I've accomplished is because I stand on the shoulder of my parents' hard work. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. She noted that if she's confirmed, she would be the first woman of color, first Asian American nominated to lead EPA's Office of Water. Now, the U.S. Water Alliance, which she was the CEO of, she was head of, is a nonprofit whose mission statement is to advance policies and programs to secure a sustainable water future for all. Well, that sounds great. The Alliance is a nationally recognized nonprofit organization that educates the nation on the true value of water and the need for investment, accelerates the adoption of One Water policies and programs, and celebrates innovation in water management. Based. I hope she does a great job. Seriously, no, I really do hope that. But the thing is, it's like disrespecting somebody who seems to be incredibly accomplished. I even looked through, Water Alliance financials. They bring in a lot of money and then they donate it to, other causes to be able to forward their agenda of making sure that water is protected. And so they run a very, from what I could tell, a very efficient organization they did under her leadership. So I think that she is going to do a great job if she gets confirmed. And she, you know, and that's despite being infantilized by creepers like James Inhofe. And look, as far as Inhofe is concerned, we need to protect water from people like Inhofe, who do everything in their power to privatize water sources for corporations like Nestle. And two, they ensure that, you know, we continue to use oil and gas. That's what he wants. Build dangerous pipelines, leaky pipelines, not use clean alternative energy sources and all of that. So Inhofe is, I don't think he takes her seriously at all, or the position. I think he thinks that that's a joke and that she's a joke. And that's because this guy is a horrible, horrible person. Inhofe is not only terrible on the environment, but also apparently loves making sexist jokes that are incredibly, wholly inappropriate for the workplace. Super creepy. Stop it, you're making it worse. It's already bad. It's already bad enough. It was already horrible. All right. This will be in-house last term. He will not run again. Good. Good. Many racist and sexist people make jokes as they're laughing at you. True, true, true. I'm older and it's still creepy as F. Yeah. No, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It was just something that apparently people thought, those people who were in power, thought that was cool to do. Like to go and say stuff like that. Cringe. Absolutely. Old guy was being creepy as hell. That woman might need to install cameras outside of her house. The fact that her father was there only makes it worse. Yeah. Those kinds of jokes have been common for a long time. Yes, it is. And it's also incredibly disrespectful. I agree with that. 100%. The casual way that he interrupted her was also rude. Yeah, where she was trying to answer a question that she was asked. Definitely speaking down to her. Yeah, we're all on the same page on this one. All right. That's it. Cringe is an understatement. True. That's it for me. I actually, I have a hold on. I think I have a super chat I need to give somebody credit for helping us out. Yes. Gabby Massa says, who cares about Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby are racists? True. Let's see. Congrats on the second shot. Cheers to chat. Luck to the show. Thank you. Sauce rationing under Biden's left-wing socialism. I think you read that. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let's go over here to Twitch and see if there's anything going on there. No, but thank you for my Twitch followers. Thank you to Facebook followers as well. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Much appreciation to you all. Thank you. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you all later.
Are you kicking me out the door? Please clap.
I have not loved this conversation. Amazing. I like my knee tight. Tighten up my knee.
Are you kicking me out the door? You're kicking me out the door.